What's up, guys? Neil Orfield here, and I'm going to take a look at Stokastic's MLB DFS Lineup Generator for tonight's slate. It is June 12th. I'm going to be looking at lineups for both DraftKings and FanDuel. While you're coming in, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. And of course, you can get Lineup Generator for 50% off the regular weekly price right now. If you use the link in the description of this video, it's going to be just $4.48 for your first week. If you use that link, it'll just be $9 after that as well. So great deal for a tool that is only giving you good lineups. It's only giving you plus EV lineups that would be expected to win money long term. Even if, day to day, it's DFS, you're going to lose more days than you're going to win. But over the long term, if you use the lineups that Lineup Generator gives you, you should expect to make some money. And I'm going to go through my process of choosing those lineups from Generator, because although every lineup it gives you is a good lineup, there are going to be tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of lineups, depending on the slate here, are going to be good lineups. So you still want to have some say in which lineups you choose from Lineup Generator. Now, first, I'm going to take a look at some DraftKings lineups. I'm going to do all stack types, and I'm not going to choose a certain lineup type. I'm going to go with all lineups, see if I can get some diversity across my lineups just from the get-go, rather than having to find it later on. So I'm going to go all lineups here. We just saw somebody using that all lineups won $15,000 using Lineup Generator just a few days ago. That was really fun to see. Lineup Generator, we've had a lot of people having success early on, and it's such a simple tool to use. Very cool to see people having success with it. I'm not going to lock in any pitchers here. All right, the first lineup we get here, James Paxton. He is going to be the highest owned pitcher on the slate. That's the chalk right there. Jesus Luzardo, also fairly chalky. Getting a little bit different with the bats, though. So we have, what do we have here? A 5-0 Rays stack. So the Rays primary stack here, Christian Betancourt, Yandy Diaz, Wander Franco, Josh Lowe, and Jose Siri, all looking good here. And then we've got Austin Slater as a one-off, Michael Garcia, and Chase Peterson. So the one-offs all relatively low owned there. Everybody under 10% owned. The Rays stack a little bit chalkier, but if we take a look at the top stacks, so I'm curious where they fall in the top stacks. Well, yeah, we have the Rays number 2 in terms of odds of being the top stack on the board, and some positive leverage here. 11% projected ownership, 13% chance to be in the top stack overall against James Caprilli. And it's in Oakland, so not the best park to hit in, but the Rays still, they've just been mashing the ball all year, so not a surprise to see the Rays looking good against James Caprilli in here. One of the better stacks out there. And then the pitchers we had were James Paxton and Jesus Luzardo. Looking at the top pitchers tool, yeah, the top 2 pitchers on the board here in terms of top 2 pitcher odds by a little bit of a margin. We've got a little 4% gap between Jesus Luzardo and Zach Eflin, the third pitcher in the top 2 pitcher odds here. So good to see we're getting the top pitchers right away, paying up at pitcher, and still able to get some nice bats in there. So that looks like a great lineup, using 160% total ownership on that lineup, using the full salary cap. Second lineup, yeah, we're getting a little bit less ownership, not using quite the full salary cap. And a big part of the reason for the less ownership is Luke Weaver, only 14% projected ownership. It's 40% less than James Paxton. So bringing down the ownership quite a bit there, just with the pivot to Luke Weaver at pitcher. But then, of course, you're paying down for Luke Weaver. You can pay up for some bats here. We still have Wander Franco in there. Alex Verdugo now is somebody we're paying up for. Masataka Yoshida, paying up for him as well. So we've got, here is a 4-4 Tampa and Red Sox lineup here. Pretty high ownership, or middling ownership on most of these bats, and then just Betancourt at 6%, Jose Siri at 6%, kind of bringing down the ownership. And as I said, the Luke Weaver ownership, a big part of the reason that this lineup doesn't project for nearly as much ownership as the other one. Now, those are the top 2 teams in terms of top stack odds. Boston number 1, Tampa number 2, but still we found a way within this lineup to bring down the ownership with some of these bats like Siri, Betancourt, and then going contrarian a pitcher. So still not crazy high ownership, even playing the 2 top stacks on the board. And they are also the 2 chalkiest stacks on the board. Looking at the ownership column over here, Boston and Tampa top on the board there too. So even though we're getting to the chalkiest stacks, still not overly chalky when you play the right bats within the lineup. So that looks like a good lineup as well. And now I'm just going to save 20 lineups and see what it looks like in the end. And you can see here the different lineups as I click through. The ownership bouncing all over the place. Since I did all lineup types, I didn't do just chalky, just contrarian, anything like that. Kind of cool to see that I'm getting a lot of different types of lineups. All right. So across those 20 lineups that I just saved, I got to 80% Jesus Luzardo, 70% James Paxton, and then big gap. We don't have any like super high exposure to any bats here. Rafael Devers, the highest at 40%. Certainly don't mind Rafael Devers being my highest exposed bat. Tristan Casas, number 2 at 35%. A lot of Red Sox, a lot of Rays at the top of my exposures here. Jake McCarthy jumps in there, having 25% there. But yeah, getting to just the top bats in terms of top stack odds. And although they are getting some ownership, still not crazy high ownership on those top stacks today. Some positive leveraging both. So not a surprise to see that we're getting to a lot of those. Honestly, I probably wouldn't mind just using this set of 20. If I were to do anything, I'd probably go back and get a little bit less of these pitchers, maybe spread out my pitcher ownership a little bit more than what I have right now. But in general, if I end up with a lot of Red Sox and Rays, I'm not going to be mad about it because we got positive leverage there in the top stacks tool. All right, now let's take a look at some FanDuel lineups. And I'm going to do the same thing. All stack types, all lineup types, not going to lock anybody in. And the first lineup, we have Jesus Luzardo, 25% owned. He's going to be our pitcher in this one. Now we've got a 4-3 Rangers Royal stack with a Justin Turner one-off. Edwin Olivares bringing down the ownership quite a bit at 2.8% projected ownership. Drew Waters at just 5%. So Kansas City, not particularly high owned here. Sal Perez is 18%, some high ownership there. But overall, not a super high owned stack, 114% projected ownership. And if we take a look at the top stacks tool for FanDuel, where do we have the Royals? We have the Royals actually not that high up on the top stack odds, 5.3% chance to be in the top stack, 9.4% projected ownership. So we actually have negative leverage there, but then 9% chance to be in the top value stack as well against Luke Weaver, just relatively inexpensive. And the particular bats that we found, not very high owned. So look pretty good there. The Rangers higher up in terms of top stack odds and some nice positive leverage for the Rangers. So looks like a good lineup there. All right, I'm going to save that one. And then the second lineup, we get a Royals one-off now. James Paxton as the pitcher. We get a 4-3 Boston and Philadelphia stack here. Fairly high ownership. This looks like a fairly chalky lineup. And yeah, you can see here on this board, it's on the very chalky end. So this is probably one that would have come from that chalky lineup set if we chose that. The nice thing about doing all lineups is that we're getting a mix. Yeah, 193% ownership on this one. So this is one that probably cashes a lot, maybe doesn't hit the top very often. So a nice lineup to include in your set. Like you don't want to play only lineups that are shooting for, winning the whole thing or not cashing. You want to have a mix of some lineups that just have a pretty good odds of cashing. This looks like one of those lineups that just, it's going to project really well. Projects for 129 fantasy points, 193% ownership looks good. And looks like this one is, a little bit lower on the chalkiness, but still fairly chalky with the Phillies and then 4-2-2 with Phillies, Red Sox, and Texas. Jesus Luzardo as a pitcher looks good. Now I'm just going to save 20 lineups, see what we end up with. All right, so once again, we have Jesus Luzardo as our highest exposed player, 65%. Alex Verdugo, number 2 at 60%. Justin Turner, number 3, 55. So a little bit higher ownership here on the Red Sox. I think I would be inclined to get away from some of that, maybe spread it out a little bit more. Interesting that the Rays don't jump out as much on FanDuel. Now, what's going on there? Is that the price tag? Yeah, it must be the price tag. So we've got 10% projected ownership, 13% chance to be in the top stack. So from those perspective, the Rays looks great, but then 5.5% chance to be in the top value stack. Probably hard to fit in both the Rays and the Red Sox here. So I'm guessing that's why just those, it's a small sample size, those 20 lineups got to a lot more Red Sox than Rays. But I think that I probably would go back with this particular lineup, find some of those Red Sox lineups and get rid of those, maybe discard some Red Sox lineups, go back and try and find some Rays lineups or other types of lineups would probably be my approach. Like, I don't think I want quite that much of the Red Sox. But anyway, every single lineup you get here in this tool is going to be a plus EV lineup. So I'm not really, necessarily getting to better lineups. I'm just getting to, I'm mitigating my risk a little bit by spreading out to different stack types. That's generally going to be my approach, is trying to, mitigate my risk to some extent within my lineup set. Anyway, that is going to do it for this video. Again, you can get this tool 50% off, just $4.48 for your first week if you use the link in the description of this video. If you haven't hit the like button, please do. That's going to do it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Good luck tonight.